Welcome to this explainer. Let's jump right in and explore a really fascinating paradox at the very heart of global commerce. We're going to look at a group of companies that quietly but absolutely control our modern economy. Now, they don't make the smartphone in your pocket, they aren't manufacturing sleek electric cars, and you're rarely going to see their CEOs on the cover of celebrity magazines. But they form the digital backbone of virtually every major industry on the planet, securing valuations that actually rival the most famous consumer brands in existence.
The craziest part about all of this? It's the invisibility. These unknown entities are often worth way more than the biggest, flashiest consumer brands on Earth, and they pull off these jaw-dropping valuations without relying on massive advertising budgets, Super Bowl commercials, or fleeting social media hype. None of that. They operate entirely behind the scenes, just thriving in the shadows of the businesses we interact with every single day.
So it makes you wonder, right? How exactly does that happen? How do companies you and I have never directly used become worth hundreds of billions of dollars? Well, the answer is the invisible engine of the modern world: enterprise software. This is the hidden infrastructure behind almost everything you do. When you use your mobile banking app, order your morning coffee, or stream a video, there's a complex web of software that we as consumers never see. But global banks, major hospitals, and international airlines, they absolutely depend on it just to keep the lights on.
Okay, let's look at Section 1, the paradigm shift, from custom chaos to shared infrastructure. To really understand how this massive industry emerged, we need a quick look at how this hidden infrastructure was built in the first place.
Picture this. Decades ago, in the early days of computing, large corporations hired literal armies of programmers to build custom in-house systems for absolutely everything. But that custom chaos quickly became a total nightmare. Every single update was incredibly expensive, adding even basic new features took months, and routine bugs created absolute operational havoc. Eventually, it hit the business world like a ton of bricks. A company's competitive advantage is running its core business, not fixing software bugs. That realization triggered a massive shift, where a handful of tech companies began building highly reliable, shared enterprise tools that thousands of different businesses could just simply plug into.
Moving on to Section 2, selling outcomes over features. The math of enterprise value. Now, let's explore exactly why businesses are so willing to pay astronomical prices for these shared tools.
The economics here are completely different from what we're used to as everyday shoppers. Think about it. As consumers, our purchasing behavior is largely driven by emotion. We want the coolest new app, the sleekest design, whatever the current cultural hype is. But business buyers, they operate on a completely different frequency. They buy with pure economics. They really don't care if a software platform is cool. They care about return on investment. They care about supply chain efficiency and risk mitigation. Selling enterprise software is an entirely different sport, driven by highly logical, data-backed decisions.
Put yourself in the shoes of a CEO for a global retailer for a second. Someone pitches you a new software platform, and they drop a price tag of $10 million on your desk. $10 million! On the surface, that sounds like a staggering, almost offensive amount of money for a piece of software, right?
But here's the flip side. What if that $10 million software saves your company $50 million every single year? What if it aggressively reduces credit card fraud, dramatically speeds up your supply chain deliveries, and helps your executives make sharper, data-driven decisions daily? Suddenly, that $10 million doesn't just look cheap, it literally looks like the absolute best bargain in the world.
So the crucial takeaway here is this. Enterprise software doesn't sell features, it sells outcomes. It's rarely about how many buttons the dashboard has or how pretty the user interface is. It's entirely about the financial result it delivers to the bottom line. The better the outcome, the easier it becomes for these invisible software giants to justify their massive price tags and secure those millions of recurring payments year after year.
Let's move to Section 3, the high cost of switching, the ultimate moat. We're going to explore the secret weapon that keeps these companies highly valued and keeps their customers locked in. This brings us to a foundational business strategy known as high switching costs. Think about the immense financial and operational pain a company faces when they even attempt to replace their foundational software. To make this tangible, just imagine the pure, unadulterated chaos of trying to rip out and replace the payroll system for 80,000 employees, or swapping out the inventory tracking system across 2,000 retail stores while they're still open for business. What could go wrong? Well, absolutely everything. Changing enterprise software is nothing like holding down an app icon on your phone and hitting delete. It can disrupt and even completely paralyze entire businesses. And because deleting and replacing these systems is so incredibly perilous, customers simply rarely leave. Once a company trusts a software provider with its core operations, they stay for years, sometimes decades. This creates one of the absolute strongest competitive advantages or moats in the entire business world.
Let's take a look at Section 4, Building Indispensable Empires, the Power of Infrastructure. This is where we see how these platforms snowball over time.
These software platforms don't just sit there static. Every single new customer that signs up makes the platform infinitely smarter. It generates more data, processes more edge case feedback, forces more system integrations, and attracts more outside developers to build custom extensions. Through these powerful network effects, the product just gets better, faster, and more robust for everyone, every single day.
Over time, it evolves. It stops being just a product and becomes true infrastructure. Our source material uses a brilliant analogy here. Think of it like the electricity grid. Companies today do not compete by shoveling coal into a generator in their basement. They just want to plug into a reliable grid that works every single time they flip the switch. Enterprise software follows the exact same principle. Modern businesses just want to plug into highly reliable, constantly updated digital infrastructure so they can actually focus on their own market advantage.
And for the software companies, becoming that grid yields the ultimate prize in business: predictable, recurring revenue. Unlike consumer companies that have to fight for one-time purchases every single day, enterprise software firms know roughly how much money they're going to make next month, next quarter, and even next year. Investors absolutely love that predictability. That high-conviction confidence is exactly what drives those extraordinary company valuations we talked about right at the beginning.
Now, we should point out that success in this space is brutal and by no means guaranteed. Thousands of heavily funded startups try and fail every single year. The challenge versus the reality here is stark. Sales cycles aren't instant. They can take months or even over a year of grueling negotiations. Furthermore, a single mistake can instantly destroy trust, and just one security breach can completely erase years of hard-earned credibility. Winning these enterprise clients requires intense patience, a bulletproof reputation, and absolutely relentless execution.
Which brings our narrative full circle, right back to our central mystery. If these companies are making billions, if they're the unquestioned infrastructure of the modern economy, why do they remain entirely invisible to the general public?
Well, the answer is simple. They don't need us. They don't need flashy commercials. They don't need celebrity endorsements. And they certainly don't care about going viral on social media. They are just quietly solving incredibly expensive problems for other businesses every single day. The biggest fortunes in the modern economy are often built not by selling to millions of consumers, but by becoming the essential, silent backbone to the businesses that do.
I want to leave you with this final, really provocative thought from our source material. Visibility creates attention, but indispensability creates empires. The next time you order a coffee, transfer money, or track a package, I want you to think about that invisible grid powering it all. Because once you understand this hidden infrastructure, you'll start seeing massive economic opportunities where everyone else just sees ordinary software. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.